morning, everybody. How are you? The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon. Good morning, sir.
Shut up, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
Good morning, everybody. I am ready. Look, I'm ready to hit the road. I've got my hat, I've got my travelling hat on. I've got something going on with my fringe. And I've taken this off because I'm going to put my makeup on to get ready to leave this morning. So it's quite early where we are. It's about 7 o'clock. I don't even know what time it is. But I thought I'd pre-record you a show this morning, just so I don't throw us all off our mojo by being not on time, by making sure we still have consistency here in our IATQB community. So very good morning to you. Welcome to the show, Rise Up Show on this, our Monday. So forgive the state of everything. We are in transit this morning. Transit, not transat. I hope you are all well. I hope you are all ready to hit Monday up like a good one. I am currently just rounding the kids up. Well, not currently, like in this very moment right now, I'm talking to you all. But we're rounding the kids up, trying my damnedest to get them to get ready, putting on a little spot of makeup, ready to embark upon what is going to be one of the biggest weeks in IATQB history. And I don't say that with any kind of like falsification, but the ramifications. Oh, look at all the long words this morning. I'm doing very well with all the long words this morning. The ramifications or the potential outcomes of this week have huge impacts on the good in the world that we as a community, that me as a community leader are going to be able to do. And if I think about everything that I have worked for my entire life, this feels like one of those key pivotal moments whereby one way or another, doors have the potential to really, really open. So this morning, I want to talk to you about patience. So some of you may think that because I am the way that I am, that you might think me impatient or impetuous, or bloody hell, I must have swallowed a dictionary last night, you lot. Or sort of living my life sort of on a whim, or I make quick decisions and stuff. And for the most part, in my day-to-day living, I do like to seize opportunity. I do like to create opportunity as opposed to waiting for it to drop into a lap. But similarly, there are certain things that mean a lot to me that I have waited for. I've maybe not even waited for, being relentless in pursuit of, even though sometimes that might not be, that might not happen immediately. Hang on one second. I have a child that needs to speak to me. Hello. Oh, about 9 o'clock. Got an hour. All right, go get some brekkie. There's some croissants downstairs. Because we're very posh, very middle class now, don't you know? They're only cheapy ones from the Aldi, but I don't care to fit. So there are some things that mean a lot to me that I am relentless in the pursuit of, but also know that I've been very, 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 very patient for. I'm going to give you an example of some of the things in my life that I've been very, very patient for, and I've held on for dear life onto the outcome of. And this morning is for those of you that have got goals and might think day on day that they're not going to happen. That, you know, you've held on, you've waited, maybe you've waited a year, you maybe you've waited a month, you maybe you've waited 2-3 years. When something, and this sounds really glib, so just bear with me on this. When something is really meant for you, one way or another, it will happen. That doesn't feel like a great thing to hear when there is something that is burning you up with desire or with, you know, I really, 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 really want this thing. It's been a lifelong, it might have been a lifelong like desire of yours or goal of yours. It may have been a short term. It might be something that you've only just realized maybe in the past few years that this is the thing that you really want. Now, sometimes through hard work and doggedness, again, this is something that I am proof of. Through hard work and doggedness, you can create the opportunities to grab hold of the things that which you desire, right? Sometimes you will do everything you possibly can, and for whatever you believe out there, I'm going to say the universe or a higher power or whatever's got the plan, if indeed there is one. Sometimes whoever's got a grip on what's going on, the universe in my case, they might not see you either ready, or it might not, or you might not be ready for that thing coming in, even though in your heart and in your head, you're like, I'm ready. I've been ready yesterday. Like, bloody hell, I want £1 million. I was ready for it 10 years ago. Where's my £1 million? Like, I'm showing up for this £1 million, showing up every day, working really, really hard. And I'm a firm believer in there are lessons that you need to learn or positions that you need to be in, for fear of being kinky, in order for the perfect storm to occur, in order for the things that which you desire to come, like, bear fruit. So an example of this for me is my family. So when my grandma passed, just shy of 16 years ago, it was like somebody had pulled the pin out of a grenade and threw it into the middle of my family. Whilst my grandma was alive, she was the matriarch, the siblings. So her children, she's got 5, her children didn't really talk, didn't really get on, but they had this kind of connecting factor, which was, don't want to upset my mum. I don't know, it's Irene. My grandma was called Beanie. She was amazing. She was a proper battle axe and a bloody misser. But when my grandma passed, I'm still digging on this £2 multi-purpose collection by Asda special blush, by the way. Maybe I should have thrown it out a million years ago, but I use it every day still, and it's amazing. So when my grandma passed, it was like a grenade went off in our family. It literally, it imploded. So there were different factions, there were different, siblings believed one thing, and then people that were closer to the situation knew differently. There were, a lot of perception versus reality situation. A lot of people really needed to know the whole story, but they jumped to conclusions without knowing the whole story. A lot of this happens when family members pass away. Now, me, the way that I live my life is, I really want, as best I can, in any situation, for people to get on. And I don't mean that, again, I just want people to get on. Like, some of these people, as their family began to fracture, were like brothers and sisters to me. We were brought up like brothers and sisters. We had lived together. They had nurtured me through my formative years. They had, some of them had given me my first jobs. I'd worked diligently and energetically for them. I'd looked after their kids. Like, these are my, if you ever remember me telling you, if you've read my book, you know that my cousins, particularly on my mum's side, would come and stay with us when the aunties and uncles weren't doing maybe as well as what they would like to be doing, without sort of going into too much detail. At any one time, we always had cousins live with us. And now all of a sudden, these brothers and sisters that I was brought up with suddenly were not allowed to speak to each other. And so on our side, if you will, so my mum and my sister, the way that they deal with things is with anger. So fear and sadness. And this is at the time, it's 16 years ago. Lots of growth has happened since then. The way that they dealt with their pain, with their grief, was with indignance and with anger, with upset. And it was really deeply rooted in the fact that they were not understood. There were lots of, like I said, perception versus reality. Lots of people thinking that things were a certain way when indeed they wasn't. And that really took its toll. So that meant that all of a sudden, I was now not allowed to speak to these people who were my brothers and sisters because they were on the wrong side of the family, and I didn't want to upset my mum or my sister at the time. And this is, 16 years ago. And at that time, I kind of made a vow to myself. Even on the day of the funeral, I went to go and see one of my cousins and went to sit down with her and just say, I don't know what's going to happen, but I need you to know that I love you. I need you to know that I was only, this is 16 years ago, so I'm only, 20-something, early 20s, really early 20s at the time. And all my life, I'd been perceived as the naive one or the excitable one or the youngest one, the young one. And actually, looking back, I was potentially one of the bravest ones that actually ran towards the fire and said, look, I think there's some talking that needs to be done. I can't convince my mum or my sister on our side that can take place. Equally, I know that I can't say this to you. I can't convince you to have these conversations. It was too volatile. I was too young and too removed, I guess, from their relationships. So what I did instead was I held on. I knew in my heart of hearts that one day, I didn't know how this would happen. But one day I would be able to have my cousins and my sister in a room where we would be okay. And it was going to take me to hold really, really tight, and hold space for when my family were angry, and almost sort of gently talk them through that anger and what that meant and what people's position in that anger was. And then similarly, on my cousin's side, I would just drop in every so often. I love you. I've not gone anywhere. I wasn't allowed to have contact at the time. That would have had real sort of consequences from, and this is because nobody wanted to get hurt. It was so traumatic was the situation. Nobody wanted to get hurt. But I knew right down deep in my heart, it was because nobody was having conversations. Nobody was communicating. Not really. Everyone was trying to be right and nobody was trying to communicate. And that was the whole crux of the issue, is that everyone was, and let me know in the comments if this is something that you found, particularly when a family member has passed. I am going somewhere with this conversation this morning. I wanted to talk to you about perseverance. And it got to, 10 years later, 11 years later. That's my mum. It'll have to ring while I'm talking to you for a minute. And I'm still holding tight. I'm still just dropping in a message in the cousins every so often. I'm still here. Gemma was keeping in touch with the cousins that she was able to keep in touch with. But it was in my mind that eventually I would have us all together, and that would be the dream. That was the dream for me. So it took, when did we all get together finally? And we're still one missing from all being together. Maybe even two missing from being all together. It took us till last year for the final conversations to start taking place, because the fractures weren't just for me and my sister and the rest of the family. Those fractures went in the middle of other families as well. And it was all of this is because they didn't communicate. Not really. Everyone came from their own place of pain and their own perception of the world, and nobody knew how to. It wasn't something we were taught. Our families didn't communicate like this, right? You have to remember, like we're the anomalies. I was certainly the anomaly. You know, my sister became the anomaly. My cousins are becoming the anomalies. We are breaking the cycles. When I talk about being a cycle breaker, that's really what I was trying to do with that, you know, with those sort of 15, 16 years of waiting, just waiting to be able to call my cousins and tell them that I love them on a regular basis, or hang out with them and go for dinner with them. Or in the case of, you know, my incredible cousin Sarah, get a plane and go over to New York and go and give her a squeeze, which I will be doing in July, by the way. You know, being able to work with them, being able to love on them, being able to, you know, be that big family that we was when we were growing up. I had to hold really, 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 really tight until they came to in the perfect time for them, because healing had to take place in lots of different places in order for us to come back together. We were finally able to start to get us together again. Now, for me, singing has been a similar thing. It has been something that I have been blessed with being able to do and talented with. But also, there have been points in my life where I've almost achieved something. And the story that I'd always told myself was, it was only ever just almost. I only ever almost got married. I'm married now. I only ever almost won the competition. I only ever almost got the dream job. Even though I had lots of other experiences, and this was the lie that I was telling myself. Even though I'm holding on like glue, excuse the zipping if you're listening on the podcast, I've just been putting my face on. Even though I was holding on like glue to this dream that in some way, shape or form, I was going to be able to sing, not only for a living, but with impact. And what I mean by that is being able to create a platform for the causes that I create, and me unlocking some degree of fame in order to provide access to more people for that platform. Does that make sense? So when I did things like The Voice and didn't tip it over the edge, you know, there were lots of contributing factors. One is that I didn't really believe in myself. Not really. Like, I believed in the dream, and that's what I held on to, but I didn't wholly believe in myself. Secondly, I didn't have all my ducks in a row with regards to, if I was to go onto the other side of this, what would I create? At the time, I'd have just gone on to just sing. So I needed another 6-7 years to build something worth sharing. And that's what it feels like now. I'm 38, just turned 38 years old, with a dream that I had from when I was 7. And that's not me saying, you know, you have to wait 20 odd years in order to create your dream life. It's just sometimes the things that are meant for you are meant for you at a certain point. And the difference between ever making it and not making it is holding on and continuing to work for it. Is holding on and thinking, no, this is still something that I'm going for. It's like a dogged determination where, yes, you will have setbacks. Yes, you will need to do other things in order to sustain your life. But actually, if these things are meant for you, they will come to you. And that is, I maintain that as a firm belief. And I feel like this week is that for me, is for us, is that I needed to have been able to create a cause. I needed to have been able to create enough around me in order for opportunities to arrive, for me to be able to seize them with the most effectiveness. And that's what this week is all about. And I know that sounds a little bit obtuse, but I really hope that's inspired you this morning, this Monday morning, as we're sort of riding out the rest of January together, to consider the things that you have planned for yourself and really hold on. Look at all the chess pieces that are in play in order for you to get to where it is that you're going. Do some things need to happen outside of your immediate periphery in order for the doors to start unlocking. So in the case of my family, for example, that was other conversations needed to happen between the cousins in order for me to be able to enter the frame. The only thing that I could do was hold space for each of those cousins and have conversations with them and encourage them. And then it was up to them to do the rest. Like, I couldn't make them do the rest. All I could do is, with love, play devil's advocate for everybody, which is kind of what I did over the years. Is just continued to play devil's advocate for everybody in love, in wanting everybody to come together, because we as a family deserve to be together. Because do you know what? My family are proper good sorts. They're amazing. I mean, the women in my family are just phenomenal. You think I'm a bit of all right. Like, honestly, my sister is insanely inspiring. She's just one of the most wonderful human beings. And like my mum, my cousins, honestly, the women in my family are just absolute powerhouses. Some of them don't even know it. They don't even know it. And for them to start to have those conversations and realize, start to see that in themselves, that is what needed to happen in order for us to be able to come together. And some of us went to Barcelona together last year. Some of us spent Christmas together. Like, we've been able to start doing all those things that I held on to 16 years ago, trusting that when the time was right, that would happen. And then we're just waiting for, a couple more of our cousins to be able to come and join us all together, and we're making plans for that now. And that, for me, is a massive dream come true. Similarly, the things that we've got queued up for this year are things that, are 20 odd years in the making. And sometimes that's not, and it might not be good news to you this morning. I don't know if that's good news to you or not, but that which is meant for you will arrive when it's right. And it is only your job to turn the fuck up for it. And I'm hoping that everything that I've done up to this point has allowed me, for when the opportunity knocks, and it knocks in a number of ways this week, that I am ready to turn the fuck up for it. So in summary today, I challenge you, my gorgeous, gorgeous community, my queen bees, king bees, royal bees, sovereign bees, whatever kind of bee you identify as, is if opportunity is knocking this week, today, in the next hour, or in months or years' time, are you going to have done everything you could have possibly done in order to get you there? And if the answer is yes, and it's still not arriving, what other chess pieces are in play? What else needs to happen outside of your direct periphery in order to help those stars align? I hope that has given you some food for thought this morning. I am now off to that there London to go and film something which I hope I'll be able to come back to you and bear some good news. It'll be good news one way or another. I want to shout out to Team Danny, Team QB, who's going to be joining me in London over the next couple of days. Joe Swan, Jojo Smith, Abby Horn, Prash Sharma, Sam Aris, Gemma, Gordy, Wallace, the kids, everyone who's going to be with me in real life. Diane, in real life over the next couple of days. I love you. Thank you for making it possible to come with me. For anybody that can't make it, it's all right. It's all good. I will update you with what I can, when I can. I will be back on Wednesday with Tanya Iverson talking all things money, money, money. So keep those goals in mind. Let me know in the comments what your intentions are this week. For me, it's to show the fuck up. I'll see you later.